Welcome back. Today we are going to discuss the interpretation of points of the graph. Interpret points on a graph. Well, let's think about that. If we think about a graph is a set of solutions, right? And as you can see here, it looks like we have a linear, meaning it makes a straight line. Now, when I look at a linear graph shows the relationship between the x value and the y value. So in our graph here, I see that I have a heading that says total pages Danny has written. Right here, total pages Danny has written. The x value, the hours spent writing, and the y values, total pages written. So the x is related to the y, which makes sense. The number of hours I spend writing will determine how many total pages I have written. So let's read our little scenario here. It says, this graph shows how the length of Danny's essay depends on the number of hours he spends writing this week. Okay, how many hours will Danny have to spend writing this week? Okay, how many hours will he have to spend? So hours, that's, if I look there, is hours X or Y? Hours is X. Guess what? Memorize that. Time is always X. Time is always X. So I'm looking for X. How many hours will Danny have to spend writing this week in order to have written a total of 1 page? So I'm going to look here at my graph. Total of 1 page written is my Y, and I'm looking and it says 1. So I know that he wants to write 1 page. And I'm going to take that 1 and I'm going to follow the 1 over until I meet the line, which is right here. Okay. So how many hours is that? Well, I'm going to follow it back to my hours. Remember, my X is hours. So that means that he would have to have written for 2 hours. Again, a graph is really just a relationship between an X value and a Y value. And this week, we're working with linear, so they will be making a straight line. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, I'm looking at the table first, or the graph, and I say, okay, I have a graph. I have a visual representation. I have a bank account balance. All right, and in this bank account balance, it says the number of admission tickets, and then over here it says the balance in my account. Well, think about that just for a second. The number of admission tickets. So apparently, I'm going somewhere, right? So I'm purchasing some tickets. And if I'm doing so, that makes sense because as I purchase more tickets, my account keeps going in a negative direction, right? I'm losing money out of my account because I'm purchasing something. Okay, that makes sense. Now I see why it's headed in a downwards direction. Now let me read my scenario. It says the graph shows how Lena's bank account balance is related to the number of admission tickets she purchases. She wants to buy 7 tickets. I see that 7 admission tickets. Okay. What will the account balance be? She wants to buy 7 admission tickets. 7 admission. Okay, that's here. Admission tickets, 7. I'm going to trace that all the way to here. It looks like it's right about here, right? I'm on the line. A solution is always going to be on the line. Well, I need to trace that back. And if I was to trace that back, where would I be when I get back here to my X or to my Y? Going from my X value of 7, and I'm going to trace it back to find the Y value that belongs with the 7. Well, if you notice, it doesn't come out evenly on the grid, but it's halfway in between. So halfway in between, what's halfway between $1 and $2? Yeah, that'd be $1.50, right? So what will be in the account or the account balance after she purchases 7? Well, $1.50. So this is what you need to be thinking about. Do I know the X or do I know the Y? Be careful to read your labels. Find what you've been given. Trace it back to the actual equation on that line. Remember that line is the equation, so you're going to trace it back to the line and then follow it over and find the value of either the X or the Y, whichever one you're looking for. Because X and Y are going to be related to each other. They belong together as an ordered pair.